Today I'm interviewing Dennie Patton with his Sylvan deck profile. So, Dennie, why did you start playing Sylvans?
When they first came out in Japan, I saw them on the internet, and I've always wanted to play a plant deck, and I also thought they were really cute. So I decided I was going to do it no matter what, and I thought the whole excavating thing was really unique.
Alright. So why don't you show us your deck?
So I run 2 Princessprout. Being able to tribute itself is really nice in certain situations, and also going into whatever level you want for your XYZs is super convenient and kind of necessary. I run 2 Peas. It's really nice to stack it with Hermitree, and then you get a +1 and revive a Lonefire. Reviving Lonefire is pretty much its only use, but it happens quite a bit. I have 1 Spore. I like to synchro, and also you can banish a Sagequoia from your grave to get another 8 to work with your Hermitree for XYZs. 1 Cherubsprout, which is just to search out Spore, basically. 3 Komushroomo. I don't really run back row hate, so it's nice to have the Komushroomo to take care of problems. Also, its flip effect is really nice, and it's a tank with 2000 defense, so usually people run into it, take some damage, it'll survive, and I'll get a huge excavate off.
That's rough.
I run 3 Marshalleaf, because popping monsters is always good, so is excavating 2 cards, and it helps to have a couple rank 3s. 2 Rose Archer. Traps can be kind of a problem, and having a hand trap is always fantastic. It's really nice when somebody goes to bottomless your soul charge or something, and you can just drop a Rose Archer and ruin their plans. Nobody ever sees it coming. Usually hurts them a lot.
I don't see it coming. That card is 1 duels against me.
And I run 2 Kuribandit. It's just an all-around good card. It's nice early in the game, especially if you already have a Sage in hand. Sometimes I don't like it. It can kind of be worthless in my hand if I get it too late, but generally speaking, it's a good card. 2 Lonefires, which is absolutely mandatory, obviously. Lets you search whatever you want. 3 Sage, just a fantastic effect. It triggers not only when you excavate, but if they, dark hole or pop something in certain ways, and lets you go into your super cool rank 7s really easily. I have Blaster, which I used to not run, but
you gave in.
I gave in. I hate Dragon Rulers with a deep passion, but it's just too good being able to drop a Hermitree into the grave where you want it, and also pop a card your opponent has, and then summoning it back later to go into rank 7s. It's pretty convenient. And I have 3 Hermitree, which is just a great card. It's pretty strong. It has a great effect. I always get a lot of +1s because you usually stack your deck before you activate it, and then it's necessary for your Felgrain, which is the heart and soul of most Sylvan decks. So I think that's 25 monsters, and then I run 15 spells, 3 Sylvania, which lets you drop plants in the grave like you need and then stack your deck. You also get to excavate in your opponent's end phase, which is really nice. It's one of the more useful field spell cards, in my opinion. 3 Charity is a must. You want to be able to stack that deck. It's just an all-around great card.
I'm so jealous of that card.
Honestly. 3 Fertilizer, just fantastic. Now that XYZs are a thing, you can just, if you can do 2 in 1 turn, it's great. Go into an XYZ immediately, and then the Fertilizer are basically safe, and you can just reuse them every turn. It's a pretty baller card. I only run 2 Soul Charge. I know a lot of people run 3 in Sylvans. I don't really have a reason not to run 3. It's just when I look at my deck and I think about things, I feel happy with 2. The unusual thing I run is 2 Creature Swap. Not a lot of people run Creature Swap, but I think it's one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! It doesn't target. It's a normal spell. People don't usually have answers for it, except like maybe a Forbidden Lance.
Yeah, no one's ready for this card.
Yeah, I feel like in today's format, a lot of people get out 1 or 2 really strong monsters. They don't tend to just leave stuff unattended. And then if you're not having a great hand, you can just kind of drop a Peas, get off a single Excavate, and then trade it for them. And attack over your own things, attack over Spore. It's a really nice card. It wins games a lot for me.
I think a lot of people too have like Wiretap set, and they feel like they're ready to take on whatever their opponent has, and then someone drops a creature swap, and
yeah, I'm always unprepared when somebody creature swaps me. I think it's fun too. I like to have fun with this deck. Play a Book of Moon because it's just like the best spell that exists. I mean, everybody should have Book of Moon. And then I play Rank Up Magic, the 7th one, which costs the deck some consistency, and it also takes away space from the extra deck. To be honest, I only play it because it's really fun, and I think of all the decks in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Sylvans are the best ones to use it. They can use Charity and Hermitree to stack it, and then draw it during their next draw phase. It's not a dead draw, always, basically. That's it for my deck. 25 monsters, 15 spells.
No traps.
No traps. A couple people play Sylvans. Most people will run a couple traps. Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is pretty popular. I don't like back row. For my extra deck, I run 1 Utopia Roots. I don't summon it a whole lot, to be honest, but there are a lot of level 1s that you can use to go into it, and situationally it can be really good if they're really into XYZs and have a lot of beaters out. I run Fortune Tuner as opposed to Engineer. I just love that it can't be targeted. Sometimes shuffling the level 3s back into my deck kind of sucks when it does go away, but so many people can return things to hand and banish and that kind of thing these days. I prefer to just not be able to be targeted at all. It's really hard to get rid of Fortune Tuner, and it usually lasts longer in my experience, although it can protect other things, which is kind of a trade-off. I play Aurea, obviously, just mass, non-targeting, bouncing. It's really fantastic. You can also use it on your fertilizers, get those back to hand and play them again. You can also, drop a Sage from your hand and then stack the top 8 cards of your deck, which is just ridiculous. Big Eye is a must. Taking your opponent's stuff is the heart of Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion. And then I play Master of Blades. This would be a Draco Sack, but I'm too poor. And Master of Blades isn't, a terrible card, but yeah, just pretend that's a Draco Sack. For rank 8s, I've got All Say, which I think situationally can be a really good card. It can really hurt your opponent, and it's got a crap ton of defense. Sometimes people will just summon something with 3,000 attack, and you can put this sucker in defense, return a card they have to the top or bottom of the deck, send some to the grave. It's a good card all around. The must-have of this deck is Felgrand. I only have one because of the Astral Force taking up space, but yeah, that's definitely the most used and most useful card in the extra deck. Basically go into it as soon as possible, whenever you can. Then I have Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder. Do some nice burn damage, pop some ugly XYZs. I don't use it a whole lot, but when I do use it, it's pretty brutal. Overlord of Heliopolis is a fantastic card in this deck. You generally don't mind sending plants to the grave, and usually have a lot of fodder for it, so you can just kind of wipe your opponent's field in one fell swoop. And it's got 3,000 attack, which is hefty and can be pretty useful. I play Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, and that's for the Rank Up Magic card. I sometimes use it without the spell, very situational, but
wow.
Yeah, it's mostly just that I can overlay Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, because that is a sick monster. Basically, if your opponent doesn't have something ready for it when it comes out, they're just screwed, because 4,500 attack, it can negate every other card on the field, your opponent can't activate anything else, and if you tribute a monster, 2 monsters, it can attack 3 times. So if they think they have a nice field, and they don't have an answer to this, and you summon it, it's game a lot of the time. For Synchros, I got Black Rose, which is pretty much a must. Everybody's gotta have a Black Rose. It's really nice to wipe your opponent's field, and again, plants generally don't mind being sent to the grave too much. You can just get them all back with Soul Charge or Fertilizer. I got a Scrap Dragon for spot removal, which is pretty typical. I've got a Leo, which I think is a really underrated card too. It can't be targeted except during your main phase 2, so basically just can't be targeted. And it's got 3100, which is just enough to attack over most of the big hitters in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's pretty easy to make. Level 1 and then banish a Hermitree with your Spore, or Komushroomo that you flipped up and then banish a Sage. And then finally Star Eater. Another kind of game winner if you can pull it off correctly. They can't do anything when it's summoned, hits really hard, and is safe through the battle phase.
No D-Prison.
Really nice. No D-Prison. No Mirror Force. None of that crap.
No Bottomless.
No Bottomless. Torrential, but it won't do anything.
It's good.
They can't Torrential. My side deck, I have 2 Rivalry of Warlords. It's a really good card since you're all plants, or mostly plants. Basically just hurts certain decks a lot. If you time it well, you can wipe out a lot of their field. I run 2 XYZ Universe. My favorite way to use it is against Madolche when they do their Tiramisu Leviair combo. You can get out, send them to the grave, not destroy, which is fantastic, and then you can get Araya or Draco Sack someday, that kind of thing, which is really great. Or Felgrain if it's like a rank 4 deck. DNA Surgery, that's basically my set against Boujin, although there are a couple decks that get hurt by DNA Surgery besides that. Situationally can be really good. Do 2 Royal Decree. Anybody who's trap heavy gets some Royal Decree from me. It can just be a game changer depending on the kind of deck you're playing and how much back row they have. If I'm going against somebody who's got, Macrocosmos, Defissure, Skill Drain, just really brutal back row that I hate, I'll put in my MSTs. That's basically a must. I also do 2 Prohibition, which isn't played a lot, but if you call it right and time it right, Prohibition can win you games, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's just, depending on the deck, you can absolutely ruin their entire strategy, and a lot of times they won't be able to come back from it before they can get rid of it. I run a Dark Hole. I don't main deck Dark Hole. I think it's fine in my side. Just depends on the deck, really. Yeah. And then 2 DD Crow. That's just fantastic for anybody who uses the graveyard a lot. Let them pay cost, do whatever, and then banish their target. It's really enjoyable. And again, it's a hand trap, so most people don't see it coming. Takes them by surprise.
Alright, so what do you like about your Sylvan deck?
I like that it's a smarter deck. It takes some setup and it's a little harder to play. Basically, it doesn't play itself. You gotta think about your actions, a couple steps, a couple turns in advance sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you dislike about the deck then?
Sometimes it can be a brick if you get a bad opening hand. It's definitely a deck that excels in the late game. It's not necessarily a slow deck, but the more time passes, the stronger the Sylvans are going to get, basically. And sometimes if you're rushed in the beginning, it doesn't turn out well.
And so I think I know the answer to this, but is this an expensive deck?
Yes, which really, really annoys me. Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty expensive. It's not...
You wouldn't call it a budget deck?
It's definitely not a budget deck. And it's not like, the best of the best decks either. It's competitive, but it's not,
What are the...
I wouldn't say tier 1 or anything like that.
What are the expensive cards in it?
Well, the extra deck is really expensive. And then,
okay.
I mean, all the Sylvans are just... Most of these cards are pretty shiny. Things have gone down in price, but, like, Charity is a lot of money.
Yeah.
What else? The Marshalleafs used to be really expensive, although they've gone down. Hermitrees are kind of expensive. Sages are kind of expensive. That kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. And so do you think the Sylvans, and your deck in particular, do you think it will be competitive in the upcoming format as soon as the new set is released?
It could go either way. I've played this deck a lot online, and it doesn't, have crazy problems with, like, Shadal or Telenite or anything like that.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you think you can beat Shadals?
I think I can beat Shaddoll's. Tellarknights can be kind of annoying because they can block off my summoning, but
Yeah.
I don't think Shaddolls are a big threat once you know what's happening.
Alright. So basically, it sounds like Sylvans are a good deck to play if you enjoy a more strategy-based game.
It's definitely true.
And if you are bored of decks that run themselves.
Yeah. Sylvans won't run themselves, that's for sure.